Hey folks, I'm best-selling author of The Power Zero, David McKnight. In today's video, you'll see part 3 of my interview with financial advisor Chris Martens, in which we discuss the biggest Roth conversion mistakes as well as the sweet spot for Roth conversions and the Trump tax cuts.
I want to go back to some of the Roth conversion stuff that you had mentioned earlier in the show also. Let's talk about, Roth conversions. It's a huge part of what we think people should do. But are there any potential Roth conversion mistakes that people could make, and how do they avoid them?
Well, one potential Roth conversion mistake is to listening to what Dave Ramsey tells you about Roth conversions. Now, I am encouraged that Dave Ramsey seems to have sort of jumped on and I don't want this to be about Dave Ramsey, but I was just reading, Dr. Wade Pfau is writing the foreword for my new book, the Guru Gap. And he just sent me the foreword, and I was just reading one of the things that he wrote in there. And Dave Ramsey talks about, by the way, I was saying that I really am heartened that Dave Ramsey has jumped on the tax-free wagon. It hasn't always been the same. Susie Orman has also jumped on the tax-free wagon. She says, look, she even said, look, tax rates are going to skyrocket in the next 10 years. Why would you not do tax-free? So it's almost like everybody gets it. Everybody gets it that tax rates in the future. I mean, years ago, I was the lone man in the wilderness trying to get this message out. But to Dave Ramsey's credit, he has jumped on the Roth conversion bandwagon. But he says some things on his website that are actually a bit troubling. One of which is if you're within 5 years of retirement, meaning you're planning on retiring at 60 and you're 55 or older, or maybe even in retirement, you should not consider a Roth conversion. And his reason for doing so is a little strange. He says there's this 5-year Roth conversion rule, which has nothing to do with whether you should do a Roth conversion or not. I talk about this in my book. So, one of the reasons that's not an appropriate recommendation is that your retirement years, you could be in a much lower tax bracket than you are today. And it's a great time to do, particularly if that happens in the next 8 years, you could be in a lower tax bracket then than you are right now because you're not earning quite as large an income. So that math there doesn't really add up. Then another thing he says is you should only do a Roth conversion if you have money outside of the IRA with which to pay the tax. Well, I don't know about you and your clients, but I've been doing this for 25 years, and I can tell you that very, very few people have enough money in their taxable bucket that they can use to earmark towards paying all of the tax on a huge Roth conversion. They just don't have it. So under that rule, under that guidance, no one would ever do a Roth conversion. They just have to leave their $2 million sitting on the train tracks with the tax freight train bearing down on it, and they got to watch helplessly as the tax freight train, smashes it to smithereens. I mean, this is the problem with some of these mainstream financial gurus who haven't marinated in correct financial principles for as long as maybe you and I have. They're preaching one size fits all, paid by the number, black and white, unnuanced advice that people are supposed to take and somehow apply to their own situation. Well, that's not how it works in real life. People are looking for customized, tailored strategies that can help them wring the most efficiency out of their retirement savings. And that's not what they're getting from gurus. And that's probably why I've trained my rhetorical canon on gurus so much in the last year or so, because I feel like the message is getting really muddied and people aren't getting the right advice, particularly the sophisticated investor who's, like I said, done a good job of saving, played by the rules, and now are just looking to enjoy a sustainable retirement. So that's really why I focus so much on it of late.
And I hope this isn't redundant, but is there any real kind of sweet spot for Roth conversions, for IRAs?
Yeah, my book, The Power Zero, all of chapter 6 is it's actually entitled The Tax Sale of a Lifetime. When I updated and revised it, when Penguin Random House bought the book back in 2018, I added a chapter 6 that was perfect timing because it was right when the Tax Cut and Jobs Act went into force. So you now have this 8-year period of time during which to take advantage of historically low tax rates. And I talk about how the 24% tax bracket is the sweet spot in the Trump tax cuts. Why? Well, if I were to tell you, Christopher, that, hey, tax rates are going to double down the road, in an effort to protect your hard-earned retirement savings from the impact of higher taxes, you who are currently in say a 12% tax bracket, you need to bump up into a 22% tax bracket in order to get all that converting done to get you to tax-free by the time you retire. Well, how would you feel about that? Probably not very good, because in an effort to help you avoid a doubling of tax rates over time, I doubled your tax bracket in the short term. Doesn't feel very good. Doesn't feel like a very sound recommendation. However, if you're currently in the 22% tax bracket, and I said to avoid a doubling of tax rates over time, let's convert to the top of the 22. By the way, the 24% tax bracket is only 2% more, but it allows you to convert an extra $173,000 or so to tax-free, and it only costs you 2% more on the margin. Well, all of a sudden that recommendation is going to go down a little bit easier. And by the way, when I ask clients, how often do you think clients, where I say, hey, look, are you okay if we bump up to the 24% tax bracket? It's only 2% more, and we can get that entire $1 million shifted to tax-free along the way by utilizing the 24. How often do you think they love that recommendation? Pretty much 100% of the time. So that's the sweet spot. That's why I think it's important to take advantage of these next 2 years. And again, it's not the end of the world if you don't get everything shifted over, because still, the future version of the 22 is 25, future version of the 24 is 28. That's still better than 32. So don't bump into the 32 in the meantime. Stretch that tax obligation out over a couple of different years. Okay, folks, that was part 3 of my interview with financial advisor Chris Martens. In the next 10 years, I'm looking to put 1 million Americans on the road to the 0% tax bracket. If you would like some help implementing a balanced, comprehensive approach to tax-free retirement that shields you from the impact of higher taxes, head on over to davidmcknight.com and click on the Connect with an Advisor button. I'm happy to refer you to an advisor in the Power Zero network that has been trained, vetted, and qualified personally by me. If you're a financial professional and want to learn how to become a certified Power Zero advisor, head over to powerzero.com and opt into my free video series. And if you have any comments or questions, feel free to drop them into the comment section below. I'll respond to every single one of them personally. And don't forget to click like, subscribe, and the bell so you never miss a video. This is David McKnight. I look forward to seeing you on the next video.